horrible. Well, I'm not going to buy your records anymore. Well, I'm not going to, but there shouldn't be these, because if that's the case, we got to go back to John Wayne Airport and tear the signs down. We got to go back to all of Elvis Presley's songs singing about 14-year-old girls. We got to go back and do a whole lot of recalibrating. So I am definitively pro human rights, pro, women's rights, and folks should be held accountable when they cross those lines. There's no question about it. I don't think that it needs to be a huge X through your entire contribution for your life cycle. And that was one of the things I worried with my dad when he got older, because he insisted on driving. He was having little accidents regularly. And I was just thinking, wow, I don't want some horrible accident with a school bus to wipe out the legacy of all the good work. And so I frequently say no country for old legends. The aging process is real. A lot of what I did for my dad, I also did for Miss Cicely Tyson. And I saw on a very real level how hard it is to carry limelight as the aging process starts to weigh on you. And collectively as a people, we need to do a better job kind of propping up our elders.
Definitely. I want to, speaking of that, I want to talk about his latter years. Did you think that your father had a premonition that his end was coming near soon, in your opinion?
Absolutely. More than a premonition, he said it. And so when we were all in the hospital, I run my dad's social media, so I'm letting folks know, giving them regular updates, because we always knew our dad was a dad to the world. He was a Baba to the world. It was never, he never had a bodyguard. We never had his phone number was always published. His address was always published. And so he just really, he was a man of the people. So we really wanted to keep them informed real time. We weren't trying to hide behind a wall of what was happening. And my dad was in the hospital for a simple urinary tract infection. And at 84, any infection that we get elevated white blood cells. And when you have dementia and you're older, elevated white blood cells mean, well, for every additional white blood cell, there's one less red blood cell. That means less oxygen's getting to the brain. So they become disoriented. And so my dad was real, he wasn't drugged, but it was almost like he was drugged because he was very disoriented. And he was talking to his brother Presley, who had died 20 years ago. He was talking to his mom. He was having some real deep, and we were just sitting there taking it all in, because we're looking at what the medical charts are saying that keep saying we should be leaving in a day or two. And he kept pulling me in and saying, hey, Doc, it's not what they think. It's deeper than what they think. He was clear. Even when the infection went down and he became more clear-headed, he was very clear that there was something more going on. And he had really already, and he was tired. I mean, he was real tired. I mean, and Dick Gregory was a man that didn't know how to rest. He was never going to get a rocking chair and go and sit at a pond and stare out at it all day long. That wasn't happening. And so I'm certain it was a time as he was transiting that he stopped communicating verbally, and it was just a lot of squeezes and facial expressions, and he was at peace. And part of the reason I share that story so frequently, because I know there's a lot of folks that love this man, in different generations of them. There's a lot of people that knew young Dick Gregory that knew nothing about the older Dick Gregory that so many millennials and Gen Zs were introduced to. So it was necessary for me to make sure that the world knew that we had a victory. We had, from womb to tomb, this man lived the life that he wanted to live. And I saw all the immediate conspiracy theories. And, the only reason I loved seeing all that initially, because I knew my dad would have been pissed if Black folks weren't saying there was a conspiracy when he died. He would have came back and straightened some folks out. So I wasn't bothered. I mean, when you know the truth, things like that don't bother you at all. And it was a little comforting, because I said, Dick Gregory would have been the first person saying Dick Gregory's death was a conspiracy. So he trained us all well. So that, as odd as it may seem, it was heartwarming for me to see those posts and, kind of smile inside and say, Pop, I know you're smiling down on this, and you would have it no other way.
You do an excellent job of representing him, man. This is a masterful. I just wanted to put that in there.
I appreciate that, brother. I truly do. It's a badge of honor for me. I'm not just my dad's son. We were business partners, and we really were best friends. And so when you have that level, and that's what, our parents take care of us, then we get the same age and we become equals in a sense. And for my dad, when he lifted that dad veil, and some of the siblings saw the motherfucker this, the nigga that, it was, it was a little much, because I had never heard my dad swear in my entire life. I was 19. I was so happy because I thought something was wrong with me. I was like, here, foul mouth running. And then I was like, damn, for the first time, I felt part of the family when I heard Pops come up. And it was like a glow. And we clicked from that point. There was conversations to this day. If there was a hot mic, you wouldn't be talking to me right now. So we would talk about some wild stuff. I mean, and so for me, it just is so important to protect his legacy and still share that side. I mean, Dick Gregory was, for most of his life, he was a vegetarian, then a vegan. Then as he got older, he started letting it all hang out. And, he would sometimes show up with some shit. I was shocked to see him eating. And we all earn that right when we get older. Right. And he was doing an interview once. We were on NPR, and they said, well, Mr. Gregory, you still a vegan? He said, depends who's watching. And so he was always honest with it. So and that doesn't mean he didn't support, but it's just when you get older, you want to do, and he earned that. So I was never like, oh, Pop, don't drink that. What do you, it's like, one of my sisters, called him out one day when we were heading to 30,000 feet, heading to Harare, Zimbabwe for a summit there. And it was a who's who of folks on the plane. And she called my pops out. Let me just say it didn't go well. So family or not, he could let us have it. And I'll just say it didn't go well. But it was always rooted in just comedy and more laughter than you can even fathom. Dick Gregory's funniest jokes were never on a stage. And he would always explain the difference between being a comedian and being a humorist. Dick Gregory was both. Comedian was the material he did on stage. But when a comedian's on stage and someone heckles them, the ability to turn and come out of their routine and respond, that's a humorist. And most of us sitting around, playing the dozens, talking shit, that you always do. Brother Kwame Brown is a great example of a humorist. Like whatever and that's what a lot of people can't figure out what they're witnessing. He's a funny ass cat, not a comedian. He's not reading mind. He's responding on your asses, and it's quick. And that's what's fucking people up, because they're like, whoa, this brother, and he's got nothing to lose because they dogged him out for so long. So his skin is so thick. And for me, it reminds me a bit of my pop. And I sit back, and because I'm guilty. I was in DC, when Kwame first came to DC, and I'm not a sports cat. So I just, if y'all telling me he's a bust, whatever. Like, I never gave it any thought. And I was like, whatever it is, he deserves every penny he's got coming, because there's plenty of white folks out there that got plenty of money to do shit for it. So I was like, whatever it is, he deserves whatever he's got coming, and good for him. And so now to see this reinvention, this reincarnation, oh, it's beautiful, man. I mean, I'm always late to things because I'm not completely in step with what's happening out here. But my wife and I, we went back watching over the videos, and we just howled with laughter. It's just good to see. I couldn't tell you nothing about mama's cooking or seasoning. All I know is it's hilarious, it's spontaneous, it's real. And he seems, and I don't agree with I didn't agree with everything Mark said, but I love the fact he believes what he's saying. He's not being controlled by anyone. And some of the folks in our community that we're not supposed to go after, he's calling bullshit on, and he's going at him full speed ahead. So I just like honesty. Whatever your truth is, kick your truth and be fearless. And so it's uplifting to see.
Indeed. We definitely appreciate your time, Dr. Christian Gregory, on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. I got one final question for you, sir, if you don't mind. And it was kind of piggybacking off my cousin's last statement on how you represent your father so well. Is it always an honor, or is it sometimes a burden having such a legendary parent and oftentimes having to express memories of them as opposed to sharing memories or lively experiences of your own during some of these interviews?
Great question. And for me, and I think for most of my siblings, it's one and the same. People say, oh, what's it like being Dick Gregory's son? It's the only Pops ever had. It's not like I can compare it to being someone else's child. So this is our DNA. This is part of our story. And since I'm so proud of his achievements, I've never, now 25 years I practiced as a chiropractor, I was never Dick Gregory's son, the chiropractor. Like, I never went out and advertised, hey, I'm Dick Gregory's son. People would come in and sometimes see my dad damn near sleeping in my office. Like, damn, is that Dick Gregory? And, my dad, when he was dressed casual, he would be real. I mean, he was mistaken for homeless multiple times because his casual swag was not swag at all. So so they would have to ask. And so for me, most of my patients didn't find out who my dad was until after he passed, and they saw me speaking so much publicly on his behalf. When I was all of us Gregorys were required to go to historically Black colleges and universities. When I was at Morgan State, no one knew who I was, and I preferred it that way until my dad came to speak and had me stand up, and then life changed on campus for me. So I do get, it's not like everywhere I go, folks only know. There is definitively Christian Gregory in his own space, but I really feel there's an obligation to telling this story and recalibrating it and calling people out for when they only know a snippet of it and they don't know the totality of it. And I don't know the story just because I'm his son. I know because I've researched all the new book projects, done the research for the movies, 1,500 hours of archival footage. I've done the deep dive and the commitment I made to the documentary team. I said, if you all find a dead body in my dad's orbit, I want to know about it. And that's the reason, it wasn't just a vanity credit. I was there every day in the decision-making process. Lena Waithe, Kevin Hart, and Andre Gaines are also going to be doing the feature film, the biopic. I'm a producer on that, not because I'm trying to say, oh, don't put that in, but I'm trying to say it has to be the truth. Dick Gregory was a man of the people, a man of the truth. I don't want to water it down. I heard someone say the other day, this is the watered down version because it didn't mention Malcolm X. And the truth is, there's 5 movies we left on the floor. There was just too much that it couldn't be fit. We could do Dick Gregory and Malcolm X in its own movie. Trust me, there's no fear from the family of expressing the love that the two of them had for each other. And that will come. But absolutely, for me, I appreciate both you and your cousin's kind words. And I hear it a lot because this is my full-time focus now of really propping up my dad's legacy and making sure people, get it straight and love him or hate him, at least know that the man was, he was on the front line for justice and he definitively loved his people.
Definitely appreciate you, Dr. Christian Gregory. Man, it's been an honor this past hour, and I wish you nothing but success, in your endeavors. Real quick, before you get out of here, drop your social media outlets and let people know about the project on Showtime.
Yes, absolutely. So the project is the one and only Dick Gregory, available. It's scheduled on Showtime. You can also stream it 24/7. The film is like my dad's life. Every time you watch it, you find something different. There's a new little nugget, and plenty of the folks you love and appreciate are in there, letting you know their feelings. On social media, it's all just Real Dick Gregory. I'm Dr. Christian Gregory on social media. And I'll connect with you all to put all that information out there in regards to all my dad's nutrition products are still available at wellnessinnature.com, wellnessinnature.com. You'll hear a lot of that discussed in the movie. All of my dad's books have been republished. Just mentioned we released Nigger in Japan. We're getting ready to release Nigger in Croatia. And just me saying that would have my dad howling with laughter about, where we're dropping niggers at. So, yeah. It's real. The beat goes on. I appreciate you brothers and the time you allowed me on your platform here tonight.
Likewise.
Yeah, the honor is all ours. You're more than welcome to come back anytime. We'd love to come back and discuss about the health and the wellness aspect of your father, too. There's so much to digest and to get through, but we definitely appreciate your time during this hour. Dr. Christian Gregory on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. Appreciate you, sir. Salute.